Hello crafty friends, it's Donna here from Donna is Playing Paper. And I have a card for you today using a stamp that sold out so quickly when it first was released that it's had to be restocked. I'll add a link to it with the other links in the description box below. I'm starting out with a panel of watercolour paper. There's about to be a whole lot of water involved here, so watercolour paper is really important. And I'm using these different pigment powders. I have some colour burst and some brushos in a range of corals, pinks and reds. And I've scattered just the tiniest bit of each across my paper. I usually use a pin or something similar for picking up the powders. Once the powder is down on the paper, I'm giving it a spray with water, and then as soon as I'm happy with how it looks, I'm drying that off. Then adding a little bit more water, drying again, and repeating that process. I want to make sure that I've definitely got all of the powder there so that none of it's sitting there ready to stain my clothing or hands later. Although you may notice as this video goes on that my fingers are definitely a beautiful shade of pink. Once the panel's dry, it is a bit warped. So I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine a few times backwards and forwards to flatten it a bit. Later on, I'll tape it down really thoroughly using a thick tape to make sure that it sticks properly and lays flat on the card. Today's stamp set comes from Pink & Main and it's called Dearest Friend. And the main image is this beautiful big butterfly. Before I stamp it, I'm going to put a little bit of powder down onto my watercolour paper, and you can see that I am definitely a fan of the more is more approach to applying the powder. I'm going to use black ink for today's card, although I'm sure this would have looked lovely with gold or silver or white embossing powder. Today I've gone for black. The watercolour paper is really textured, so even though the stamp is flat and will give a beautiful crisp image on smooth paper, it does need a few solid stampings to get into all the nooks and crannies of the watercolour paper. Once that's stamped, I'm going to go over it with clear embossing powder. There's two ways to get a nice shiny black image. One is to stamp in clear and use black embossing powder, and one is to stamp in black and use the clear powder. Stamping in clear will leave your stamp a lot cleaner, so the cleanup is a lot less. But if you get any stray specks of black powder on your paper, then you have black spatters perhaps where you don't want them. With the clear powder, even if I do have a spatter here or there, I can't see it. I certainly didn't notice any, although they probably were there. So I prefer this method for myself. I'm not the neatest. I've left in the whole footage of the embossing powder melting because I think embossing clear on black is one of the most magical ones to watch. He doesn't know it yet, but this card is for my honey. We've just moved countries again. That will be the second time in the last 6 months and the third time in the last 4 years. And it's a big job and it's a very stressful thing to do. So I thought this sentiment, I am here for you always, was a really great one for the occasion. I've got a little bit of Simon Says stamped vellum, and once I've gone again with my powder tool, I've stamped that with clear sticky ink. I've used Versamark this time, and I've embossed that with white powder. Just off camera, I'm letting my heat tool get really hot. Vellum is so prone to warping that I thought I'd show you in real time how long I spend getting it embossed. I've literally done one quick pass along and then a checking pass back once it's cool. And that's it. For years I had so much difficulty with my vellum warping, and I didn't really understand what other stampers were saying when they said let your heat gun get really hot. They mean really hot. Now, onto the sticking down. I have this beautiful thick 1/2 inch easy tear tape from Pink & Main, which is perfect for the job. It's nice and strong, nice and thick, and it really will hold my panel down beautifully flat. First of all, I'm going to just fold the edges of that vellum panel back and stick them onto the double-sided tape, and then I'm going to stick the whole panel down onto a piece of burgundy cardstock. The burgundy cardstock is very slightly smaller than my card base, which is a standard American 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card, and then my watercolour panel is very slightly smaller than that again, so that I have a very fine double frame around my image. Lastly, I'm just going to attach a few glitter enamel dots from the Falling For You collection from Pink and Main. Although this is an autumn set, it had this beautiful pinky purple that I thought matched perfectly with the card today. I'm going to leave you with some close-up pictures of the card and the beautiful spatter that the powders give. If you've enjoyed this card and you'd like to subscribe, feel free to click the little subscribe box, which will come up at the end of the video. I'm going to be back really soon with another card, and I hope to see you there. Stay safe, everybody. Bye for now.